Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 77 today for the Italian Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous episode of the Belgian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Interesting time at Belgium, and it means going into the Italian Grand Prix then, our home Grand Prix of course for the team. It's my very first time coming to Monza, driving for the Scuderia, so this is going to be a very important race for us, you know, not only points-wise, because we go into this level on points for the Drivers' Championship lead with Verstappen and Ricciardo. So 3 people on the same points, and Raikkonen is only 20 points behind us, and as of late, he's been the man on fire in this Ferrari car. But, you know, away from that, also just the esteemed kind of nature of being at Monza. In a Ferrari, you're expected to do well here at Monza, but it wasn't a great start to our weekend here in Q1. We can see we've got electrical system fault, so I had to sit out for the first 4 minutes of qualifying then. It's actually raining at the moment, so intermediate conditions are warranted here, but I do know it's going to get drier towards the end of the session, so the fault wasn't going to be too much of a big deal. It's not like Canada where we had a DRS failure and that really kind of hampered us and put the pressure on for a lap time, because by the time we get to the end of the session, you can see there it is time to switch over to the dry tyres. Initially I thought, okay, maybe you try the soft tyres, maybe try and get through on that harder compounder tyre, try and save tyres, but it looks like everyone's going to go out on supers, and I don't want to get caught out obviously like I kind of almost did at Belgium, and I have done so far a few times in this season. So I want to make sure we just get through into Q2. Like I said, we have to minimum get into Q3, and we have to try and aim for as high as we can in qualifying. So we're going to start off one and only flying lap in Q1. Then you can see on the top right, we're literally right at the death of the session then, but you can see the track, although dry, it was very cold, so I heated up my tyres a fair bit on the start of the lap, and it wasn't an all-inspiring lap really, but hopefully it'll just be fast enough to get us through into Q2, and others are also going to struggle. We do get through into P8, and speaking of struggles, my teammate Kimi Raikkonen and Daniel Ricciardo are both knocked out in Q1, so that is a massive development at the very start of this weekend, that one of my title rivals is already out in Q1, and my teammate as well, the man who's been kind of embarrassing me a little bit in the last 5-6 episodes with very consistent running, 3 wins, he is out of Q1. Obviously, we do know Raikkonen, remember, he's come from P18 to win a Grand Prix before. He did that literally this season at the German Grand Prix from P18, so let's not rest on our laurels, but at least that makes my job easier in terms of I'm going to get through hopefully into Q3, and the embarrassment is on the other end basically for Raikkonen not making it even through Q1. Focusing on Q2 then, the first lap I did was on a worn set of super softs that I used in Q1, and the second run is on actually the first fresh set. You can see already getting some time there through the first few corners, being a bit more aggressive on the curbs. A little bit wide though at Parabolica there, so we lost a bit of time, but that's not going to matter because we're in P5 at the moment anyways. Gasly sets the fastest time of the session. We then go across the line and then subsequently set another faster time, and so really good confidence boost there to top the timesheet for, you know, quite rarely in Q2. I rarely top timesheets in Q1 or Q2, or even Q3, let's be real, but Q2 there, really nice confidence boost there. But Gasly surprising up there in P2, and both Mercedes cars that was, I think, up into Q3. So the Mercedes cars have been slowly, you know, improving along with the Toro Rossos. We talked a lot about Toro Rosso improving and overtaking Mercedes, but they're very much still there, Merc, and they've both been trying to battle each other. So I guess they're kind of both pushing each other to improve. And so we've seen some more regular appearances in the top 10 from them. But we move into Q3 then, a little bit more overcast actually than Q2 was. So the sun comes down as well at the very end of the day on Saturday. At the moment, obviously on our first flying lap then, a little bit of a mistake here and there in Sector 1. Lost a bit of time on the table on the curbings, and also just not going as aggressive as I could into Turn 1. And we come across the line. What's it going to be? It's across the line for P4 then, behind Hamilton, ahead of Verstappen though, crucially. So ahead of my championship rival. Remember, the other two are already out in Q1, so that's at least good for us, but I want to try and see if we can beat Hamilton and get up the order. We're in P5 now, so down one more place. I believe the Renaults are looking very strong at the moment here, but we've gained a decent amount of time. We went slow and fast out of the first 2 turns and gained a decent amount of time, and then also here through the second chicane there, not going too aggressively over the curbs and finding some time still marginally there. Then through Ascari as well, trying to not scrub off too much time, going a little bit wide there and a bit of an extension, but you kind of lose a bit of time as well with the kind of a lack of grip on the outside of the track there. And as we go through Parabolica, then scrub off some time across the line, and it's going to be P4 then, so we get back to our original position in qualifying there. To my surprise then, it's a very strong showing for Renault. Obviously, I don't know, I'm a little bit surprised, but not overly surprised, because we have seen Renault in race conditions be very fast in a straight line, so I guess it's kind of paid dividends for them here, and they've got some good aero as well, so they can probably afford to bring their wings quite a bit down if they've got good aero. But Alonso right up there in P2. It's an all Renault 1, 2, 3 powered thing, so usually that's not something we're used to in real life Formula 1, all the Renault cars being so strong. It's almost like Mexico, but we're not at the high altitude. But doing good in P4, ahead of Pierre Gasly, who out-qualified Verstappen, so that's a bit of an embarrassment for Red Bull then, to be out-qualified by their sister team, and also they got out-qualified by Sauber in Charles Leclerc, so not a very great time for Verstappen. So it might be a really good showing for us in terms of the points haul versus both Red Bull cars this afternoon as we go into Sunday. Obviously, Kimi also down there, so it could be a really great day for us. So let's go into Sunday then, see how the grid shapes up with any penalties maybe, and then we'll get into the race.
It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethin beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. There were 40 overtakes for the lead alone in 1965, and Kimi Raikkonen clocked a record top speed of 230 miles per hour here, just over a decade ago. So there's a lot to live up to then for all of our drivers today. With top speeds up to 215 miles per hour and an average lap speed of around 155 miles per hour, Monza's reputation as one of the fastest circuits in the sport is well earned. We have 11 corners on this 3.6 mile track, with the best overtaking chance coming into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 chicane. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about the engineer. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Great work from Nico Hülkenberg yesterday sees him start on pole, and it's Fernando Alonso in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, the engineer, Pierre Gasly, and Hamilton, Verstappen, Magnussen, Bottas, and Sergio Perez, Grosjean, Van Dorn, Brendan Hartley, and Stroll, Ricciardo, Ocon, Charles Leclerc, they've taken a grid penalty, and Kimi Raikkonen, Sirotkin, and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So here we are then in P4 on a very overcast Italian Grand Prix grid at the moment, but hopefully there won't be any rain to come, because I'm hoping we can try and have some good fighting ahead and try and pull off at least minimum a podium here for the Italian fans here in this Ferrari car. But it's thankfully not going to be raining. It seems it's going to be all overcast though the entire race, so a bit of a gloomy, depressing race maybe, visually speaking. But we're going to go for the one stop, obviously. Super softs. It says medium tyres, but obviously if you've watched the last 2 seasons, you'll know that I can try and stretch these to go to the soft tire at the end, and that might be more of an advantage, especially on the lower fuel. So that's what we will try. Obviously we'll play by ear to see what the scenario is like on track. But here we go then to 5 red lights to our very first Italian Grand Prix in a Ferrari car. The lights are out and we're underway for 27 laps around Monza. It's a good getaway initially, but then in 4th gear, bogging down as the acceleration does not help me, and Gasly and the Toro Rosso is finding some speed into turn 1 though. Alonso side by side with Sainz there in a bit of a Renault sandwich, but he tries to find a move around the outside of Hulkenberg for first place as we defend successfully from Pierre Gasly there, so that's good. But the Toro Rosso looking very punchy indeed at the very start of this Grand Prix then. But up ahead, I think Alonso is now right on the back of Hulkenberg, trying to maybe make a move for first place. There he goes round the outside. Hulkenberg defending hard though in that Renault. He got pole position. He's already had one pole start off pole before in this season, and it looks like unfortunately for him, Alonso is going to make that 2 as he's up into first place. It's a Renault 2-3 though, still with Sainz in 3rd place. Then we're going to try and size up the Spaniard if we can, but as you can see, as they make the move side by side. There goes Hulkenheim then. They're side by side through Parabolica. I've still not lost Gasly. He's right there. You can see the proximity arrow on the bottom of your screen, so he's still not away from us. But here we go then. Oh my god, across the line onto lap number 2. Look at this. It's going to be 3 wides for the race lead. Renault, McLaren, Renault. What a sight that is. 3 wides battling into turn 1 for literally the race lead. There's no other dodgy strategy business. It's just pure fighting for the race lead. Absolutely sensational stuff there. Alonso comes out on top though. Hulkenberg stays put in P2 with Carlos Sainz still P3, but now there's a bit of a train forming with Alta Gasly right behind me. So now can we make a move into the chicane down the inside? It's going to be all very tight and close as Hulkenberg also goes for the race lead there with Alonso. Both of them make some contact and tap as I do with Sainz. Sainz down my inside there as we go through the right hander. Very wide indeed. We got nearly off circuit, and Magnussen barges his way through. I don't even know where Magnussen came from because he wasn't the one right behind me. It was Gasly. So out of nowhere, it's gone like abracadabra, and Magnussen just pops up there and shoves me through, and he's up into P4. Although I made the first mistake of going a little bit too deep and wide with Sainz, but we're going to try and slipstream Magnussen back as Van Dorn sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So you can see in the traffic, obviously, none of us are going very fast, whereas Van Dorn's probably got some clean air behind us. But as I watch Magnussen go side by side with Sainz, Gasly's attacking me. So at this stage of the race, I'm kind of worried. It looks like this Ferrari has no pace at the moment in a straight line. We talked about needing drag reduction updates at the Belgian Grand Prix, but clearly, again, for a second time now, it's very clear we do need that, because we go very hot into that chicane, narrowly miss the back end, and making contact with Sainz or Magnussen there. At the moment, we're struggling for out-and-out pace. I think it's more an effect of, obviously, the slipstream being so powerful. I need to get in some pocket of clean air at some point. If I can get past maybe Sainz and Magnussen, you can see on the mini-map, there's quite a big gap now to Hulkenberg and Alonso. That's how much time they've gained in literally 1 lap of people fighting. So if I can get into that pocket of air, that could be good. But in the meantime, that's not going to happen, because Gasly now goes round my outside. The Toro Rosso has me for chips in the middle of Ascari, and now I'm down to P6, and I'm staring behind me at Verstappen and Hamilton trying to overtake me. So it's all kicking off, and I'm just the one losing out all the time. But we're going to do some defensive driving then into Parabolica. We cut through on back onto the racing line after initially pulling right to break the toe of Verstappen. Then through the exit, hopefully I can try and get away. Obviously the Red Bull, we know, isn't that great in a straight line, so hopefully we can keep ahead of him. It's going to be Hamilton, really. That might be the cause of issue with DRS open. But meanwhile, up ahead, Gasly now going for the move on Magnussen. Those two side by side, and really everyone side by side down this straight. It really is like the motorway, almost like Baku as well. So Gasly on the outside then, he's going to get the traction down. That Toro Rosso is so good on the acceleration. It's actually quite crazy, but we're going to get some good toe now off Magnussen. Can we make a move? We're going to have to go to the right hand side as he doesn't leave much room on the left, and so we're on the outside of the chicane. He locks up big time on the front right there, so that's going to allow us to just nimbly dance through on the inside of the chicane up into P5 then. So we're making a bit of a recovery. I need to now catch up to Gasly, but you can see on the mini-map there's a huge gap still to Alonso and Hulkenberg, who are pretty much literally side by side still. Like, they're docked on the mini-map. Does not look like a different colour pretty much most of the time. So I think those two are battling just as Gasly and Sainz are. Literally, they're neck and neck as I just about save a horrendous spin at Parabolica. They're literally in full opposite lock in the middle of Parabolica. Not what you want to be doing ideally, but here we go now. We've got the straight line speed on Gasly. We're going to have to move to the inside here, so we're going to get boxed in on the left. So a bit of a seesaw motion in the brake zone. There's me and Gasly jostle for position. We're going to brake a little bit earlier though. Try this switch back, but Gasly slowed it down quite a bit on the apex there. So I tapped him a tiny bit on his gearbox. So we're going to have to pull back in to that toe and try and get this move now on the outside. Maybe it's going to be a little bit closer. Ooh, Gasly with a big wobble there in a straight line on the curve, and we just about make our way through. Lock up on the front left, but go nice and deep into the chicane, which actually helps us defend the position. And we're up now into what is going to be P4. I believe I've lost track of the positions, I can't lie, but at the moment then, first place is Nico Hulkenberg then, so he's actually done great to actually finally overtake Alonso and get it stuck there with third place Sainz, myself fourth, and P5 is going to be a battle between Max Verstappen actually, who's now finally finding some pace and has woken up in this Grand Prix. Obviously he was like way back down the order with Hamilton so far, but yeah, at the moment Gasly's re-overtaken him though, because the Toro Rosso has better straight line speed than the Red Bull, funny enough. But there is Raikkonen then. We haven't seen too much of him yet, but he's actually in P12 at the moment there as he battles Brenton Hartley. So good recovery so far from P18, remember, to P12. P12. And obviously with the nature of the slipstream here, clearly demonstrated quite well by Alonso and Hulkenberg going dueling for first place for about the 5 billionth time so far in this Grand Prix. Raikkonen may be able to recover quite well in this Grand Prix, but Hulkenberg is going to keep P1, I think, but Alonso keeps his nose in down the inside. These two go side by side for pretty much half a lap now, and that's going to hold them both up quite a fair bit. And you can see there, Sainz and myself in the background, we're closing up here, so this could turn back into a four-way fight for first place, as the two are still going hammer and tong now into Barabolka. The German, though, still leads the way from the Spaniard there, and so the race lead continues to be a bit of a Renault-powered affair there, with the Works Renault and McLaren Renault still at it there. And the only kind of other engine power has been Ferrari, of myself for briefly a fleeting moment on lap 2, but hopefully we can try and join them back up, as we are now going to try and aim to overtake Carlos Sainz. Maybe we're gaining, we can make a late move on the outside. This will have to be as sweet as we can get it on the outside. On the braking, there we go, we're jostling for position, get the elbows out on the exit though. Sainz has the traction and the acceleration, once again the characteristic from Renault being very good in a straight line these days in Season 4, but here we go now. You can't give up on this power of slipstream, but wow, Jesus, Sainz really was quite close to pushing me off on the grass there, so that was a bit of a hairy situation, but we just about got through into P3. But if Sainz had gone any more left, he would have literally punted me onto the grass there, so thank the Lord for that. As we move on now to lap 8 though, whilst I try and catch up to Alonso, Sainz is still sticking with me, so we have to try and shake him off if we can, and we go side by side once again, but he locks up very badly on the front right. We're going to do a lovely little switchback move, straighten the car a little bit faster, get the power down. We'll have to be another move now on the right curve. This time though, Sainz kind of blocks us off on the left hand side. We'll have to switch to the right then for the outside move on the second chicane, but we'll do that very nicely indeed, aggressively into the apex, and we're back up into P3, and now hopefully I can try and chase after Alonso and Hulkenberg. And you know what, that actually does happen, because we've got now Pierre Gasly, who's ahead of Sainz now in the pecking order. Unfortunately we missed the overtake, but he is ahead in the Toro Rosso, but he goes for a move now, Sainz to retake the place, but Gasly locks up then and hits the gravel. It's a really bad mistake there for Pierre, and so Raikkonen will go stimming past as well, and so I think Raikkonen might be in the top 10 now, and even maybe in the top 8 at this rate, because he's behind the Haas, who's behind Hartley then, so making some really good progress then, the Iceman is. Remember, I talked about the last time he was P18, he won the damn Grand Prix at Hockenheim there. So Hamilton is actually out of the Grand Prix then, and Alonso and Hulkenberg are in for a pit stop. We're going to continue on though for 2 more laps here, because I kind of learned from last year, the overcut is actually really good if you can keep the tyres in, and obviously you do so much battling in this first stint, you don't actually wear the tyres out that much, because you're going quite slower through the kind of all our high-speed corners there. So we actually set a purple lap time on lap 11, and then by the time we get through to lap 12, we're going to come in a really good position to get to then go onto the soft tyres and be on the softer compounded tyre compared to Alonso, both Renaults I imagine. I don't know actually who is probably going to join me on the soft tyres, because AI usually play a bit more conservative really. But now after that quite a hectic start to that Grand Prix, you know, the opening 5 laps, at one point I was down to nearly P7 there, kind of defending against Verstappen and Hamilton. We're now comfortably into the top 3 position. You know, we've broken that gap to P4 for Carlos Sainz, that was, and initially was Gasly before he made the mistake. So we're now hopefully just able to get clean air and chase after Alonso and Hulkenberg. I feel like the car does have some pace in it, especially with the corners. It has the pace for sure, and actually by the time we come out, look at this, look how close we are to Fernando Alonso there. The overcut has worked overtime, and we're so close now. We're within touching distance of P2 then. Hulkenberg leads the way, but all 3 of us now are going to be very close now on one straight as we move on to lap 14 then with DRS as well. So we're going to be in prime position to fight for this race victory still. So I thought at one point the race victory was probably gone and done, but no, it's come back to us as Alonso now is down the inside of the chicane and he's up into P1, but Hulkenberg should have some good straight line speed. Will he fight back? He'll have to tuck back into the slipstream, but it's all about strategic driving around Monza, so that might be the clever thing to do to get ahead then into sector 2. He'll pull out to the right hand side. Will he make the move the long way around? Alonso will be very harsh on him in defence, but Hulkenberg equally pushes through and he's up into first and actually slows down Alonso now that I try to maybe have a peek around the outside, but Alonso really slows it down mid-apex there. I really have to back out of that and nearly had to go opposite lock to kind of control the car, as Alonso really surprised me. And so now into Parabolica, we're going to size up this move. If we can get a good enough slingshot, we could try and actually make a double pass here, because if we get double toe off Alonso, then onto Hulkenberg, this could work. It'll be quite an arse for sure, but let's see if we can do it. Onto lap 15 then. Here we go, and actually Alonso himself's going to make a move down the inside, so we go 3 wide for the race lead. We go so deep there, neutral gear for a second, nearly off circuit. We slam into the side pod of Hulkenberg as all 3 of us were literally there in the mid-apex of that second turn, and that wasn't ever going to work. It's definitely not wide enough for 3 cars, and so Hulkenberg was very aggressively shoving me out the way, and so now we're neck and neck almost with Alonso there. Can I outbrake him? No, we're going to back out that on purpose. There's Hulkenberg locks up there, and what did I say? Strategic driving. Let's just wait again for that same place the second time round, and this time if I can get closer to Alonso, I can now actually get the toe off Alonso and then separately overtake Hulkenberg maybe, because doing it at the same time is going to be very tricky, because like I said, it's so difficult to get 3 cars actually going, 3 wide the entirety of that first chicane. So here we go now, the double pass maybe down the inside. It's a real good brake zone for us there. Slow it down on the outside. Hulkenberg hops over the curbs. It's a good bit of acceleration there, and we're up into first place, but only by half a car length, because Hulkenberg is going to pull through on the outside. Then we're going to squeeze him towards the grass quite aggressively, try and test him a little bit, but he's still there on the inside. We're going to have to go the long way around now. He's actually locked up and hit us a tad, and so on the exit he's going to come through still, and he's really aggressively made sure he's still in this fight for P1. We're still side by side through the first Lesmo, a second Lesmo as well, but we're going to squeeze him out, and we'll be up into first place of the Italian Grand Prix. And now we run for the hills. We literally run for our lives and try and break this toe and slipstream here, as now you can see, look at that, the other Renault's got involved. It's actually a 2-3 for Renault out of nowhere. I didn't see that. Carlos Sainz is up into third place. He's overtaken Alonso. Alonso's lost a heap of time there. I don't know if he's got issues now, or just he deployed too much ERS maybe, defending for myself and Hulkenberg, and so he's got nothing left in the tank to try and defend against Sainz, because now Sainz is attacking his teammate, and it's a Renault v Renault fight for P2 then, so hopefully for their sake it doesn't blow up in a bit of a civil war kind of action. But we've got Verstappen there, not too far behind in P5 there, so that'll be quite crucial for the championship fight. Remember, me and Verstappen are on level points in the championship there, and he's looking pretty handy, and he's on the soft tyres as well, so he's on the same tyres as me, and like I said, for me strategically I feel the soft tyre is the better tyre to be on at the end of this Grand Prix, so we'll see about that. And also Raikkonen, who is just behind Verstappen as well in P6, so he's recovered really well, Kimi has. But Verstappen is going to be the man on the move now, and he's on the prowl for some Renault cars. He goes down the inside of the first one, Hulkenberg there, as the 2 Spaniards are also side by side up ahead, as Alonso fights back in this Grand Prix after maybe seemingly getting some ERS battery back in his car in the back of the McLaren. But there goes Verstappen now for this second move on the second Renault, but equally the Renault is also going to try and make the move on Alonso, so Alonso locks up then, and so actually makes that move very easy, and so it's P2 for Sainz, I believe, P3 for Verstappen, then Hulkenberg, Alonso, who now finds himself under pressure maybe from Raikkonen, who we said is in P6 and is looking very good to recover very well indeed from P18. It's not going to be the win maybe he got at Hockenheim, but still that's a great recovery all things considered. And now Verstappen, we didn't see that move, but Verstappen now has made the overtake. He's up into P2 now with Hulkenberg in P3, so good stuff there for Verstappen for the sake of his championship fight, obviously, because we're both on level points, so he needs that position to try and close up and damage limit the points I'm going to get today if we keep this thing in first place. But now we're on board with Kimi Raikkonen, and we're seeing a really nice scrap there. Once again, it's 3 wide between the 2 Renaults and the McLaren of Alonso, and Raikkonen now is going to try and overtake maybe Alonso and try and make his way through, and the Ferrari seems to have some decent race pace now on the lower fuel, but Kimi's going to have a bit of a tough time. There's plenty of traffic still in this kind of top 5 fight here, top 6 fighters. There's a bit of a lock up here and there, and so it's going to be quite close, but he's going to get ahead of Alonso and then try his luck on the Renault. And it looks like he's found the speed down the inside of Ascari, because he's already there now, up the order into what will be P4 then, ahead of the Sainz, Alonso, and then also that's Brendan Hartley, I believe, who's just behind, because remember Gasly had that incident earlier in the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, up ahead, Hulkenberg is chasing after Verstappen for P2, keeping him honest here through Parabolica. Meanwhile, we've got side-by-side action once again. It's the 2 Spaniards, hammer and tong. They've literally been joined at the hip almost by their 2 cars there, and once again they scrap away for position, but they're both going to close up on Raikkonen, so I don't know, Raikkonen might be a bit of a sitting duck here, to be honest, on the main straight, as is Verstappen there, as there goes Hulkenberg up into P2 of the Grand Prix, and Verstappen down to P3. That's good news for me and the championship, as Alonso now tries to make the double pass on not only Sainz but also Raikkonen, as Sainz now is overtaken, or trying to be overtaken by Brendan Hartley there. So the Toro Rossos are coming back into this Grand Prix, because Gasly also, I think that was his other car right in the background there. So despite going in the gravel trap, Gasly's not too far away from those top positions, but now Raikkonen comes back. Alonso, it's a fantastic re-overtaking move there to go down the inside of the chicane and side by side through the Lesmos there, and Raikkonen giving it a real big fight there against his former Ferrari teammate, and for now he's going to be up the order. But as we move on later, he's going to make a crucial error into Ascari, the same one that Gasly made, and more so, he actually didn't go fully off circuit, and so he's made contact with Brendan Hartley, I think that was, and he's lost a significant amount of his aim plate on the front wing on the left-hand side there, and so into every single right-hander corner, which there are a lot of here in Italy, he's going to lose on a heap of time there, and so that might just be his recovery drive completely plunged into the abyss, because he's just going to lose time hand over fist in every single corner. As we now watch Alonso, Hartley and Sainz scrap away, they're three wide, Hartley darting around trying to find some room, doesn't do it quite yet, and so Sainz will still be the one that's badgering his fellow compatriot there, as Gasly's now also closing up and overtaking Raikkonen. Meanwhile though, P3 is Verstappen then, he's trying to chase down Hulkenberg, but Hulkenberg looks like he's actually getting away from Verstappen and locking it down for second place. And then, meanwhile, whilst all that's been going on for the entire second half of this Grand Prix, I've been just enjoying my time out in first place, driving around this beautiful Monza circuit in a Ferrari car, with the crowd going wild every time I go past. It's obviously been quite an experience here. You know, it was a very tough time in the first few laps of that Grand Prix, but now we've just enjoyed it. You know, it's been 10 laps or so of me just in first place, able to waltz away because everyone's fighting so hard, and so I'll really soak this in, because this is going to be our third win of the season, but technically that win at France didn't really feel like a win because of the way we did it, and our first win then was all the way at the Chinese Grand Prix, and so that was a special win, the first win in this red car, you know, 4 seasons in the making coming into Ferrari. But this one is even more special for obvious reasons. It's Monza, it's the Italian Grand Prix, and we're going to come through to win the Italian Grand Prix in a Scuderia Ferrari car. And there's nothing more to really say, but grazie ragazzi, forza Ferrari.
Superb driving. That's the race win.
Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Ferrari today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
Like I said, winning at Monza in a Ferrari is definitely probably one of those bucket list things you want to tick off as an F1 driver at some point in your career, if you can do it, if you have the option to drive for Ferrari. It's definitely one of the things you want to try and accomplish, and we have done that today. Absolutely awesome. This feels better than, infinitely better than the French Grand Prix win. That was obviously a very weird one, but this feels so much better even than China, which was our first win for the team. Absolutely awesome. And for the Drivers' Championship then, that means we have a really nice lead now to Verstappen. Of course, he came in third place. Then Hulkenberg did me a solid and pushed him down the order. Ricciardo didn't score very well. No points actually, so 25 points ahead of him. And then in a split second, look at that. He went from 20 points behind the lead of the championship to now 43 points behind. So Raikkonen did not really have a great time at the Italian Grand Prix. And that's the exact kind of race I needed against Kimi to kind of bring the team back into faith in me. Because I kind of had an inkling that they're kind of losing a little bit of faith in me with so many kind of issues in the car and not being able to perform and match Kimi in the last 5 episodes. That's really great for us. In the Constructors as well, us winning those still does a great deal for the team as well, away from the Drivers' Championship, because we are now so close to Red Bull, and so this Constructors fight is really heating up. And I want to stress, remember, at one point we were 90 points behind Red Bull, so me and Raikkonen have done some great work to be this consistent now and get these many points to close them up. And Toro Rosso do amazingly there at their home Grand Prix. Remember, they're Italian. Toro Rosso get ahead of Mercedes then in the championship, and we'll look to try and solidify that. But you can see the points is actually quite close. So Toro Rosso and Mercedes, that's a real fight that'll go probably to the end of the season, I would say. So that's we want to watch as well. But yeah, what a great day. Let's go to the last interview questions then before we round out the episode.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. How are you feeling after that win?
Like I said, I've already expressed how awesome it is to win in this sort of scenario, so I've got to put it down to the team for putting me in a position like that. I want to really praise them and get a bit of a rep increase for Ferrari there.
It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it?
It was a very close race, obviously, a lot of bumping, drafting, and so I'm going to say there was an idiot magnet out there, and so that gets me a rep decrease for Renault, unfortunately, actually.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So I didn't intend that to be the case. I thought it might be talking about maybe McLaren, or, but, you know, obviously HOCKENHEIM was the main man we kind of had some contact with in the middle of that battling, but there were some insane fights there, guys, like 3 wide for so many corners. You know, there was 2 different 3 wide moments for literally first place into turn 1. Absolutely insane. Some of them I was involved in, some not. Either way, though, what a great Grand Prix. So if you guys did enjoy that as much as I did to commentate back on it, then do be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.